Hey everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It has been an absolutely hectic year for me. I have actually very, very recently moved house, which is a very, very, very stressful thing to go through. I've just moved into a house share with this lovely elderly Irish Catholic couple. Their names are Mum and Dad. Everyone says it's a bit sad moving back home when you're 29, but it does have its bonuses. Like, my meals are made for me, my clothes are washed, and if I go to bed at 7 o'clock, they'll read me a story. Some things have changed, though. The conversation as my family have got older have shifted, got a bit dark. A lot of people that we know either have died or know people who have died. So at least once a week, my dad will look up at me across the table and he'll just say a name. He'll just go, "You know Jim?" I'm like, "No, Dad, I don't know Jim." "You do. You know Jim. Jim from the pub." "I don't know Jim from the pub." "You do know Jim from the pub." I'm like, "Dad, okay, I know Jim from the pub." "Dead." "Okay." 2 days later. "You remember Jim's wife?" "Oh God, no, Dad, no. I've also had to start picking up the traditions. We all grow up with certain traditions, such as things like you can't put new shoes on the table. You can't sit on a cold brick wall, otherwise you might get piles. That was a weird one. Mum and Dad, I'm just saying, if you'd bought furniture, I never would have had piles. One that we grew up with, which I always found a bit weird, and it was very, very much to do with timekeeping. So I should say my timekeeping is absolutely terrible. There was a rule in our house that you could not spend more than 5 minutes in the toilet. So when I got to the age of like 12, I was like, "Mum, seriously, why can we not spend more than 5 minutes in the toilet?" And we're an Irish Catholic family. There's 14 of us. That could have been a good enough excuse, but no. The reason I was given as to why we couldn't spend more than 5 minutes on the toilet was because Elvis died on the toilet. And I thought it was because he was in there for 5 minutes. I thought, once you were in there for 5 minutes, then, that was it. So anytime anybody went to the toilet, I just stopped what I was doing. I'd get to 4:59 and just go, "Hurry up, please!" And looking back, they must have just thought that I always needed a shit or something, but I was genuinely concerned about their well-being. But when I say my timekeeping is that bad, I have a track record for missing flights. That genuinely has happened to me so many times. So quite recently, I had to catch a flight, and I asked my dad to drive me to the airport, and he said, "What time's your flight?" And I said, "My flight is at 6 a.m. on Friday." So he said, "Okay, well, I'll take you to the airport on Wednesday, so you might just make it." So it's also the first time I've ever flown by myself. Most people who like to go on a lad's holiday. I don't really like people, so I just go by myself. And I'm stood there in the line to check in with my suitcase, and I'm starting to get a bit nervous because, like I said, I've never flown by myself before. And in front of me is the world's most annoying hen do. There's about 20 of them, 30 of them, and they're all wearing sashes. So you got the mother of the bride, best friend of the bride, sister of the groom who doesn't really want to be here, but she's been told that she has to be here anyway. And they're all just, they're whooping and they're cheering, and half of them are going, "Sisters!" And the other half are going, "Girlfriends!" And I'm like, you can't be both, that's not allowed. So after about 20 minutes of just hearing, "Sister, girlfriend, sister, girlfriend, sister, girlfriend," the girl in front of me, who I later established was the bride, said what I can only quote as being the best thing I've ever heard. She turned to her friend and said, "Oh no." So straight away, I have just paused the music I'm listening to, and I'm like, "Ooh, something juicy's happening." She said, "Oh no. I've picked up my nan's passport by mistake. Do you think they will mind?" "Oh, I think they'll mind." So, as we've got through, you're get to the front. I've been called to the desk to the left. They're at the desk to the right. I can't hear it. You know, and I do feel bad for the girl. She's probably really, really planned this. However, you're an idiot if you think you can fly with your grandmother's passport. So I just really wanted to see what was happening down there. Got through the airport, through passport control, through duty free, etc. And I'm doing that thing that you do when you go to the airport and you don't really know what else to do because your flight's in 2 days. I sat in Wetherspoons. And Wetherspoons at the airport I can only describe as a zoo. You just sit there watching people. And I had the hen do sat pretty much right opposite me. Now, like I said earlier, there was about 20 of them. At this point, there was 19. There was one very, very, very key person missing. They're on the phone to her. Don't worry, Lucy. We'll make the plane wait for you. Ride or die till the end. I don't know if you've ever been on a plane before, but it doesn't work that way. Especially on a Ryanair flight. So they're all sitting there, they're on the phone to her, trying to give her sort of ideas where she can look in the house for the passport. She's got 2 hours before the flight, she might just make it. And somebody said to her, why don't you just pretend to be your nan? And I'm like, we've already established that this is not going to work, because if you looked anything like your nan, you'd be on the flight. So eventually, it's come to time to board. And it's just my luck when you think about it. I've ended up sitting right in the middle of the hen do again. I've got mother of the groom who doesn't like the bride sat to my right, who's actually kind of happy that Lucy's no longer there. I've got an empty seat to my left. And then across from me, I've got the three ugly sisters. I mean, that was literally what was written on their sashes. So, yeah. So we're sitting there, we're on the flight, we're on the plane, we're waiting for it to take off. You know, you're sitting there and it's just really boring, and you just, you know, you read the back of the seat over and over again, just, you know, in case the plane crashes. And they say, you know, you look for your nearest exit. I'm going to be honest, it's that way or that way. Like, you don't need to read it 3 or 4 times, it's that way or that way. But I had nothing else to do. And then the pilot said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will be departing slightly late, as we are currently waiting for one passenger who is currently in the terminal. And then shit got interesting. Up and down the plane, you've got people moaning that they're going to have to wait, but all around me, all I'm hearing is, oh, did she make it? She's made it. Oh, Lucy's going to make it. Oh, we're going to have the best time. Oh, Zanti's not ready for us. Trust me, Zanti is ready for you. So they're there, they're getting all amped up, they're getting all excited, and then at the front of the plane, you see a bit of movement, heads are going, and then who should step onto the plane but Lucy's gran. And I'll tell you what, I was in the same hotel as them, and she was my favourite person on that hen do. She was lovely. And she was also the best holiday shag I have ever had. Thank you very, very much, Birmingham. This has always been a dream of mine. Thank you for coming.
Let's hear it for Frank Stone.